الحمد لله رب العالمين حمدا يوافي نعمه ويكافئ مزيده والصلاة والسلام على خير الأنام وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. إن نوينا التعلم والتعليم والتذكر والتذكير والنفع والانتفاع والإفادة والاستفادة والدلالة على الخير والحث والتمسك بكتاب الله وسنة رسول الله ابتغاء مرضات الله وقربه وثوابه سبحانه وتعالى. We praise our Lord Most High, the sovereign creator of all things in existence, and we ask our Lord Most High to send copious and unlimited and blessings and salutations upon our beloved Prophet Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sahbihi wasallam. So we continue inshallah azza wa jal with the book of Imam al-Haddad, al-Risala, the book of assistance, al-Risala, al-Mu'awana, wal-Mudahara, wal-Mu'azara. So we continue, this chapter is about counsel, about advising people. So the Imam rahimahullah ta'ala, nafa'ana bihi wa bikum radiyallahu anhu wa ankum, he says, وَعَلَيْكَ بِالنُّصْحِ, and we forgot to say that we also acknowledge that the land in which we hold this class is Aboriginal land, and we pay our respects to their elders past and present. He says, وَعَلَيْكَ بِالنُّصْحِ لِكُلِّ مُسْلِمٍ وَغَايَتَهُ أَنْ لَا تَقْتَمْ عَنْهُ شَيْئًا تَرَى فِي إِظْهَارِهِ لَهُ حُصُولًا عَلَى خَيْرٍ أَوْ نَجَاةٍ مِّنْ شَرٍ قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وصحبه وسلم الدين النصيحة. So he says on page 97, chapter 25, on counsel, you must be of good counsel to all Muslims. The highest point of this is that you conceal nothing from them which, if made known, would result in good or preserve from something evil. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, may blessings and peace be upon him, has said, religion is good counsel. And then he says, وَمِنَ النُّصْحِ أَن تَكُونَ لِكُلِّ مُسْلِمٍ فِي غَيْبَتِهِ كَمَا. We'll read that later, it's a little bit different. So he says, if we look at the essence of what the Imam is saying, it's what the prophetic tradition is. The Prophet of Allah ﷺ, he was given jawami' al-kalim, means the words the Prophet of Allah ﷺ said were all encompassing, yet they were very brief. And the scholars talk about the hikmah or the wisdom behind that is that people can understand. If things are verbose, they're full of words, and they're extraordinarily eloquent or technical, it's difficult for the common person to understand. And some of the i'jaz, they call it, some of the miraculous, perfect, infallible aspects of what the Prophet of Allah ﷺ in terms of hadith is this one, ad-din al-nasiha. Another one is ad-din al-mu'amala, al-hajju arafa. The hajj is arafa. Deen is according to dealings, or deen is dealings. And this one, ad-din is counsel. So there's a hadith, the three hadiths there, there's only 6 words to the whole 3 hadith. 3 ahadith, there's only 6 words. And the 2 of them, ad-din al-nasiha, ad-din al-mu'amala. Really 5 words if you say that. Because the deen is mentioned twice. Al-hajju arafa. Anyone can memorize those. And anyone can come to comprehend those bi-idhnillah azza wa jal, should they seek to. And that's one of like a lot of people criticize Islam. Oh, what about this? And how come everyone's got to do that? And oh, I don't need that to, I can drink and not get drunk. I can, not wear hijab and I won't, hurt myself. I won't put myself in a situation where I'm exploited or compromised in any way, shape or form rather than exploited. Okay, maybe you can. Maybe you are one of these people that can do these things. But the deen of Allah Azza wa Jal is a message to humankind. As much as it's a message to an individual in terms of the spiritual aspect of it, it's a message to humankind, to humanity, in terms of the legal aspects and the spiritual aspects. So it has to have a lowest common denominator, which means it has to be effective for the least of us, for the person that has the most simple of understanding, for the common person. Otherwise, if it's too complex, as we said, majority of people, either they won't understand it, they won't be bothered to understand it, or they're saying it's too complex, I'm not made that way, I'll leave it for somebody else. So the Prophet of Allah, he lived his life in the most simple manner. The most simple manner possible. Our salat is easy. We can make wudu from any water basically, especially if you're Maliki. We can pray anywhere we want. Even if you don't know where the Qibla is, it's alright, which direction, pray. Even if you don't have wudu li salat li hurmat al-waqt, when the time's about to expire, the time of Maghrib is going to finish or Asr is going to come to Maghrib or whatever, excuse me, pray, it's alright. You can't stand, sit. Can't sit, lie down. Can't move, use your eyes. Can't move your eyes, pray in your heart. Our deen is set for any person who the one condition really is لقوم يعقلون لقوم يتفكرون لأولي النهى لأولي الألباب قوم يتفكرون, to people who comprehend, to people that think, that ponder, that examine, that consider. So, we hear a lot about some sort of right-wing factions and people that their minds are closed. May Allah open our minds and their minds and our hearts and their hearts. But unfortunately, there's no point talking about them. There's no point. And in actuality, what they're doing is, which they don't realize, is they're actually creating a circumstance or creating a situation where open-minded people that do think, and I mean non-Muslims, they're actually saying, well, what are these people on about? Why are they so radical? Why are they so extreme? There must be, and then there must be something more to this Islam, and they start defending Islam and they start defending Muslims. So it's having an adverse effect, and that's evident in the polls, not only in Australia but overseas as well. All that, radicalization against Islam and extremism is against Muslims, it's backfiring. It's not working, even though it's expected to work because there's populism, but it's backfiring. So for us, don't worry about it. The message is for those who want to comprehend, who want to understand, who want to meditate on the meanings of life, who want to look at the facts that are there and accept them as they are, rather than to twist and turn and change them to their own machinations and desires, to their own nufus, as we were saying last week, to their own emotion, as we were saying last week. Emotion is our enemy if it takes us away from Allah Azza wa Jal. Emotion is our enemy if we obey it. It's the hawa, it's the desire basically. Hawa is basically our emotions. We're all hungry and tired and upset. We want to yell. So you're angry, you want to yell. Do you follow through with it? Is that what an intelligent human being does from a civilized nation? Just because they're angry, they yell. It's the opposite. It's the opposite. We don't just bow to our emotions unless they're emotions of mercy, unless they're emotions of compassion, unless they're emotions of empathy, unless they're emotions of equality and understanding, and that drive us to equality and understanding, which they're not actually emotions, they drive us to that. If that's the case, then they're good, they help us. Otherwise, they're our enemies, when a'udhu billah azza wa jal. They lead us astray, when a'udhu billah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the Prophet of Allah salam, ad-deenun nasiha, he said. Deen is counsel. And they said, the hadith, nasiha, also it's sincerity. Also, nasiha has two connotations. And this what we're talking about here is counsel, so we'll stick to that. And then he says, you must be of good counsel to all Muslims. The highest point of this is that you conceal nothing from them, which, if made known, would result in good or preserve from something evil. So that means that you're supposed to tell people, you're supposed to advise people. And in the times gone by, Sayyidina Umar, Allah marda anhu, he went to Sayyidina Sulman al-Farisi, and he said, Sulman, tell me about my faults. And he said, leave me alone. Sulman, imagine if someone told us that, bro, can you tell me about, yeah, you're this, you're that, you're that, you're this. The whole list is probably, flips open his phone, has got it in notes or somewhere, or, and that's it, goes through, and 50 different things. What did Sulman say? Leave me. Leave me, find someone else. He said, nah, you're a companion of this after the Prophet of Allah. You're a companion of the Prophet of Allah. Tell me. And he gave him counsel about eating, about changing his clothes more than once in a day. And Umar, he was happy. Unfortunately, in our day and age, if you counsel somebody, what happens? They end up being your enemy. What, me? 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 Nah, you got it wrong, buddy. Your perception is wrong. I'm not like that. Because when we're in a time when our hawa is being followed. Our hawa, our desires, our emotions are being followed. and everything around us, إِلَّا مَنْ رَحِمَ رَبِّي, except that which leads us to Allah Azza wa Jal, is encouraging us to follow our desires, and is made for us to follow our desires. And so, when a'udhu billah, if we're following our emotion and our desires, if someone comes to tell us, oh, hold on a second, look, this you could do something in a better way. What? No, you got it wrong. So the time when people, the pious people of old used to say, if you haven't got a shaykh, if you haven't got a spiritual teacher, that's what a shaykh is, other than a teacher about what's halal and haram, or different types of sciences like nahu, grammar, linguistics, morphology, whatever it might be, tafsir. Other than that, the shaykh in essence is a spiritual guide. The people of old used to say, if you don't have a spiritual guide, go to your enemy. Go to your enemy, and your enemy will tell you all your faults. And Imam Shafi'i, they asked him, they said, Ya Imam, how did you reach these lofty heights? How did you reach this level of ihsan? He said, because when people criticize me, when my critics criticize me, I took their criticism seriously. And he worked on himself to change himself, Imam Shafi'i. So, in reality, that's the minhaj, that's the methodology of the seeker of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. To look for one's faults. Because what happens on the Day of Judgment? A massive screen, as it is, massive screen, everyone's faults get shown on that screen. Everyone's sins, everyone's machinations, internal. وَمَا يَخْفِي الصُّدُورِ. More than we even like to think to ourselves. We don't even like to let ourselves think that. What's deep in our hearts, that's going to be shown. Everyone's going to see it. كُلُّ الْخَلَائِقِ. All of creation, since Sayyidina Adam till now, in terms of human beings, and whoever in jinn form, wherever they began, until whenever they're going to finish. Because they were around before Sayyidina Adam. They're all going to see. So the ulama worked out, well, if that's the case, they said, what's the whole of Sharia? Stay away from haram. Therefore, what's the whole of tasawwuf, or the whole of spiritual excellence, ihsan if you like, is to seek out one's own faults. Once one seeks out one's own faults and decides, yeah, that's the fault that I've got, work out from the Sharia how to overcome that fault. What are the techniques, what are the tactics that the Prophet ﷺ taught, the method, Allahumma salli wa sallim alayhi, then implement that in one's life, then what happens on the Day of Judgment? Inshallah there'll be none, or very minor. Nafs al-kamil they talk about, the completed soul, the perfected soul. So that was their pursuit in this life. They weren't worried about the faults of so-and-so, and the faults of this person, and Flaytan and Fulan and Allan. They weren't worried about these people's faults. Didn't care. It was the opposite. If someone came to talk to them about so-and-so's faults, they said, don't talk to me about that. It's nothing to do with me. It's not my business. And they used to have husn al-dhan. They gave people the benefit of the doubt even though they heard something possibly negative about that individual. Whereas today, it's trendy, it's popular to talk about so-and-so, and you make ourselves feel good about saying, oh, so-and-so's no good. And we talked about that when we talked about the vices, afat al-lisan, the vices of the tongue, and the different reasons why people do riba and they backbite, etc., etc. So he goes on and he says, وَمِنَ النُّصْحِ أَن تَكُونَ لِكُلِّ مُسْلِمٍ فِي غَيْبَتِهِ كَمَا تَكُونَ لَهُ في حضوره وأن لا تظهر له من العداوة بلسانك فوق ما يضمره قلبك ومنه إذا استشارك مسلما أو مسلم في شيء وعرفت أن الصواب في خلاف ما يميل إليه أن تخبره به. So he says, part of this is to support a Muslim in her absence as you would support her in presence, and not to give her more verbal signs of affection than you have for her in your heart. It is also part of this that when a Muslim asks you for advice and you know that the correct course does not lie in that which she is inclined to, you should tell her so. So, in other words, we don't set people up, Muslims, we don't set other Muslims up to failure, because their success is our success. If only we worked that out. If only we accepted that fact. If I advise somebody to do something positive and good and that they become successful, I get the same reward as that person got without their reward diminishing one iota. In other words, one atom's weight, nothing. So if that's the case and we truly understood the meaning of that, we'd want good for every single Muslim. We'd be striving and struggling to assist and support every single Muslim and non-Muslim to achieve good. Because if in the non-Muslim's case, should they work out the truth and should they be ready to accept it, then Allah Azza wa Jal will provide them with salvation. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will change their lives in this life and the next. And no one knows who Allah will guide. No one knows what the cause that Allah Azza wa Jal will use to guide somebody. No one knows what that is. And further than that, that when prosperity and generosity and proper ethics and morality spread in a society, the more equality and justice spread in that society in peace, then the better that society will be for all its constituents and citizens, irrespective of their faith, irrespective of their personal philosophy on life. And that's something that concerns us as believers. The other thing is, which is important as well, وَأَنْ لَا تَظْهَرْ لَهُ مِنَ الْمَوَدَّةِ بِلِسَانِكَ فَوْقَ مَا يَضْمُرْهُ قَلْبَكَ. So, that's in other words, you want something from somebody. Oh, bro, how are you? I haven't been missing you. Haven't seen you in ages. How's the family? Bro, you're one of my favourite people. This, that, etc., etc., etc. Why? Because you want something from them, or for any reason. I'm just giving that as an example. So, to show more affection by one's action or one's words than is actually contained in one's heart, why? It's a lie. It's an untruth. It's an untruth. And it can negatively affect the other person. And then also he says, Istasharaka Muslim fi shay. So if someone seeks your counsel, seeks your advice, says, oh look, I'm going through this, what do you think about whatever it might be, buying this type of car? And you know the cars are lemon. They're not very good cars. Oh yeah, go for it. Why are you setting the person up to fail? It's incumbent upon you. It's incumbent upon you to counsel that person to what is in their best interests. So that means one has to be selfless in terms of counsel. Selfless. In other words, you might have a car. And that person wants to buy it. And you know, like it's a European car or whatever, they break down a lot. And this person doesn't have that much money. So it's up to you to counsel them. Listen, I've had this car. It's a great car. It's so much fun to drive. It's got so much luxury in it. But the thing breaks down, pretty regularly. And then it's up to them. They choose to buy it. That's up to them. But you've done and you've given the proper counsel. Once you've done that, then you fulfilled your trust with Allah Azza wa Jal, and you fulfilled your trust between you and the individual. So it's being selfless, which means going against one's own nafs. And so of course when one goes closer to Allah Azza wa Jal by following the injunctions of Allah Azza wa Jal and the sunnah of the Prophet of Allah Sallallahu, then ultimately they're going to go against their nafs. That's why ad-dinun nasiha. The sincerity, see how the sincerity, as the Prophet, it goes together with the counsel. If one isn't sincere, if one has a conflict of interest in giving advice to somebody because they want to get a benefit out of it, then it's not nasiha, and nor is it sincere. Do you see how the two things, they coincide with one another? It's the same word but two derivations. So if you know that's the wrong thing, you've got to tell the person. And unfortunately, misfortunately, what can you do in our day and age? You might lose a so-called friend. You may lose a so-called friend. And why do I say so-called? Because if they were truly your friend, they wouldn't be upset. Nor would they be upset with you because you gave them counsel to their own benefit. And there's a lot of people like that. There's a lot of people, if you give them the appropriate counsel, they won't like it. And that's, one of the signs of the end of time. يُؤْتَمَ الْخَائِنِ وَيُخَوَّنَ الْأَمِينَ. The Prophet of Allah said that the person who's treacherous, they'll be given a trust. And the person who's trustworthy will be considered to be treacherous. So of course, people, they expect you to lie to them. Go do advertising. Talk to people who are marketers in advertising. If it doesn't come with a fantastic story, and it doesn't have an amazing commercial and gimmick to go with it, it's hard to get people to buy it. Whereas if it's red coloured and it's got people at the beach enjoying themselves and music and whatever, even it's poisonous and deadly, people will buy it. And they'll love it. Drink whatever, how many cans a day, whatever the case might be. Because it's advertising, it's attractive, it's sexy, it's all appealing. So people want to do it. And other things, water is boring. It's water, man. What, you're going to pay for water? It's in the tap. What are you going to waste your money for? No, I'll buy this poison instead. Rot your teeth and whatever else it does when al-Haddad. So, unfortunately, people are used to being lied to. And sometimes if they don't get lied to, that's what they won't believe the truthful person. They think the truthful person is crazy. Because the person who's telling the truth is saying something that's so outlandish in terms of their own lives and outlandish in terms of their own understanding, because they've never heard the truth before. And the truth has a particular nur, has a particular light and illumination. And one who lives in darkness in terms of understanding and in terms of spirituality, when the light gets shined upon them, it's painful. And they feel like rejecting it. So when al-Haddad, that's the time in which we live in. وَمَا يَدُلُّ عَلَى خِلَافِ النُّصُحِ الْحَسَدِ على ما أتاهم الله من فضله وأصله أن يشق عليك إنعام الله تعالى على عبد من عبيده بنعمة في دين أو دنيا في دينه أو دنياه وغايته أن تتمنى زوال النعمة عنه وقد ورد أن الحسد يأكل الحسنات كما تأكل النار الحطب والحاسد معترض على الله تعالى في ملكه وتدبيره وكأنه يقول بلسان حاله يا رب إنك وضعت النعمة في غير موضعها ولا بأس بالغبطة وهي أن ترى نعمة من الله على عبد من عبيده فتطلب منه سبحانه مثله. So he's saying now, so the absence of good counsel is indicated by the presence of envy of favors God has given other Muslims. The origin of such envy is that you find it intolerable that God has granted one of His servants, subhanahu wa ta'ala, a good thing, whether of religion or of the world. The utmost limit of envy is to wish that he be deprived of it. It has been handed down that envy consumes good deeds just as fire consumes dry wood. The envious man is objecting to God's management of His dominion, subhanahu wa ta'ala, as if he were saying by his state, O Lord, you have put your favors where they do not belong. It is permitted to be envious without rancor, whereby you see a favor of God bestowed on one of His servants, subhanahu wa ta'ala. You ask Him, transcendent is He, to grant you its like. So we've also spoken about hasad, mirara wa takraran, many times, because it's the beginning of one's destruction in terms of spiritual status and in terms of spiritual progression and in terms of one's soul being illuminated with La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah and the light of Allah Azza wa Jal and the nur of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we've spoken about it, and the Imam really sums it up very well in this one paragraph. So he says, it's a little bit different in English. He says in English, the absence of good counsel is indicated. He says in Arabic, وَمِمَّا يَدُلُّ عَلَى خِلَافِ النُّصْرَةِ. So he's saying that the things that indicate, so the Imam's saying some of the things that indicate the opposite of nusrah. So the opposite of good counsel and the opposite of sincerity. Because remember those two, that one word has two separate connotations that are tied together. Al-Hasad. When you think of Hasad, my advice to you is to think about Sayyidina Adam alayhi salam and Azazil. We all know who Azazil is, don't we? Right? When Allah Azza wa Jal created Sayyidina Adam from clay, sand, Sayyidina, long story short, Sayyidina Malak al-Maut went to the earth and grabbed 7 different types of dirt, sand, white, yellow, red, brown, black, all the different colours. And Allah Azza wa Jal made Sayyidina Adam, water, it got dry, went to mud, then clay, then went hard, sulsal, etc., etc. And then he was there just in physical form, no soul, for 40 years. And Allah Azza wa Jal said, when I make him, خَرُّ لَهُ سَاجِدِينَ, go and prostrate to him. إِذَا نَفَخْتُ فِيهِ مِنْ رُوحِي فَقَرُّ لَهُ سَاجِدِينَ. If I blow into him the soul, then immediately go into sajda to Sayyidina Adam. What? Me? Who's this bloke? That's what Azazil, Iblis, Shaitan, that's what he was saying. That was before. When he was in Jannah, he was in Jannah. He was hanging out with the angels. He was Tawus al-Malaika, the Arabs say the peacock, in other words, the head honcho, top dog if you want. Chief Raka, whatever you want to say, that's what he was in terms of the angels. But when this is made of clay, look at him. He's tiny, he's weak, he's this, that. And he went inside Sayyidina Adam. 40 years he's checking him out. 40 years. And he's building up. What? Why? Why is he building up? Because everyone has to make sajda. Me make sajda to him. Don't you know who I am? Don't you know who I am? I worshipped Allah 80,000 years. There's not one place on earth that I didn't make sajda to Allah. Allah elevated me. And now, this creation who's done nothing. He's done nothing. He's just a statue. And after, in, out, 40 years, thinking, comprehending, planning, plotting, until Allah Azza wa Jal said, that's it. نَفَخْنَا فِيهِ مِنْ رُوحِنَا. Allah Azza wa Jal, that's it, blew the soul into Sayyidina Adam. All of the malaika made sajda, إِلَّا إِبْلِيسَ أَبَى وَاسْتَكْبَرَ. Refused, أَبَى, not kibr. From what? From hasad. And a lot of the ulama say that's the initial sin. That's the initial sin. The Christians say the cardinal sin. That's not what the cardinal sin is, but if we want to use it as any cardinal sin, it's hasad. It's hasad. And go into why it's such a bad sin. Because he says, عَلَى مَا أَتَاهُمُ اللَّهُ مِنْ فَضْلِ. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from His favour has graced these individuals, that person, Adam in that case. That's why we want to use that, because that's the ultimate sign of hasad. Ultimate sign. Allah decided. That's it. No explanation necessary. Kun fayakun. Allah doesn't counsel, doesn't seek anyone's counsel. Allah doesn't have any partners. No one is of His similitude, subhanahu wa ta'ala. No one is like Him. No one is similar to Him. No one can associate themselves with Him. There's no equal to Him, subhanahu wa ta'ala. There's no similar, there's no like. He can do whatever He wants. Then He create Azazil and the jinns. He can create better or worse, subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's His call. And so that's where the issue is. That's where the issue of hasad, essence of it, comes back down to. And he says, وَأَصْلُهُ أَنْ يَشُقَّ عَلَيْكَ إِنْعَامُ اللَّهِ تَعَالَى عَلَى عَبْدٍ مِنْ عَبِيدِهِ نِعْمَةٌ فِي دِينٍ أَوْ دُنْيَا. So the essence, that he says, the foundation of it is that a person sees another person who has something from either the affairs of this world or the affairs of the next world, and it becomes hard on that person. Man, who's he, bro? How come? What does he do to drive that car? What does she do to wear that jewelry? Where'd she get the money from? And the lebas have a anna laka hada. Where'd you get that? What's your business? Take care of your own affairs before Allah. Take account of yourself before Allah takes your account. Worry about what people do. No. Wait a minute, brother. Wait a minute. He's in a person of responsibility. She's a person, she's on deen. She should, make up excuses why it's justified. وَنَعُوذُ بِاللَّهِ عَزَّ وَجَلَّ وَغَايَتَهُ, and its epitome. I should stick to the English. The utmost limit of envy, the epitome of envy, is to wish that that person, he be deprived of it. So, man, I hope he has an accident with that car. I hope it gets stolen. I hope someone comes and keys it. I hope someone sets it on fire. I hope he loses his job and his money so he can't pay it off. Whatever the case might be. Whatever the case might be. I hope that, her jewelry gets stolen. She gets mugged and they take it off her. She loses it, whatever the case might be. And then it goes even further than that. It has been handed down that envy consumes good deeds just as fires consume dry wood. And there's a hadith, al-Hasad, it's al-Haliqa. Another hadith that says it's al-Haliqa. We've spoken about this. It's the shaver. The Prophet said it's the shaver, not of hair, but of the deen. Of the whole deen. Not of iman, he said alayhi salatu wasalam, of deen. Why? Answered here. He says the envious man is objecting to God's management of his own sovereignty and dominion subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's as if, and he says in Arabic, he says here, وَكَأَنَّهُ يَقُولُ بِلِسَانِ حَالِهِ. So he's saying that it's as if the person is saying in their state, in their condition, in their spiritual condition, as bad as it is, they're saying to Allah, astaghfirullah wa na'udhu billah azza wa jal, you don't know what you're doing. Why is it halakha of the deen? Because in the end, it's association. It's a shirk. It's a khafi, it's a minor shirk. But in the end, that's what it is. Saying that is associating himself with Allah, saying, I know more than you, Allah. Wa na'udhu billah. Subhanahu wa ta'ala. This bloke, you're giving it to this bloke. I would never give it to that bloke. And halika lid-deen. That's why one's deen gets destroyed. And how many are there out there? How many do we know and see and come across regularly, the way they talk about someone, the way they see? When you comment positively about someone, straight away their whole face changes, their demeanor changes. Wa na'udhu billah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's saying, Ya Rab, innaka wada'ta an-ni'ma fi ghayri mawdi'iha. Saying, Ya Allah, you have put your favors where they do not belong. So there is a type of, he said, the Prophet he used the word hasad, but they meant ghibta, which means, what does he say here in English? Envious without rancor. So ghibta, ibtagha, to seek out, abghi. So one can aspire, maybe this is the right word. One can aspire to be like so-and-so, and hopefully in the terms of deen, or in terms of character. Some people, Muslim or non-Muslim, they've just got amazing personalities. Wherever they go, they're magnetic. People get drawn to them. People want to be around them. People want to follow them. People want to follow them. People want to be like them. There was, back in the day, a commercial, there was a basketball player. They said, the commercial came out, be like Mike. His name was Mike. That's it. You don't have to worry about nothing else. Just be like Mike. Why? Because people like to be around him. His personality, the way he was, the way he treated people, the way he handled adversity in difficult situations. So there are some people like that. One, to seek to be like that individual is a good thing. One, to seek to be like a pious person who recites a lot of Qur'an, who wakes up at night and prays, who gives a lot of da'wah, for example, or one that serves the people, serves the community, serves people in need, helps the disenfranchised. To seek to be like them, that's praiseworthy. Or as the hadith says, to be like the person who has money and spends it day and night in the way of Allah, or the man of Qur'an who recites Qur'an day and night. To want to be like them, that's praiseworthy. But to want Allah to take them because they're not worthy in what that person's judgment, oh, that person's not worthy, don't worry, get rid of it, that's where hasad comes in, and that's where it's muharram and a'udhu billah. And that's it. Ya Allah, grant me the same as that. Sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sallam. So we'll continue inshallah about nasiha next week. Are there any questions about any of these things or those things or anything else that happened to you in your exciting life during the week? Oh, it's like that, huh? Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen wa salatu wa salam ala khayril anam wa ala alihi wa sahbihi sallam ya arhamar rahimin. Arhamna bi rahmatika al-wasi'a wa yassir umurna bil hayat wa ba'd al-mamat wa thabbit aqdamna ala as-sirat al-mustaqim ya arhamar rahimin. يا أرحم الراحمين نسألك أن توفقنا لما تحب وترضى وأن تثبتنا عليه. نسألك يا أرحم الراحمين أن تأتينا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وأن تقينا عذاب النار. نسألك يا أرحم الراحمين أن تدخلنا الجنة بلا عذاب ولا سابقة حساب. نسألك يا أرحم الراحمين أن كما سألك منه نسألك خير ما سألك منه نبيك وحبيبك سيدنا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم ونستعاذك من شر ما استعاذك منه نبيك وحبيبك محمد صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم. Ya Allah, we ask you to forgive us and forgive our sins and elevate our status in this life and the next. Ya Allah, we ask you to enlighten our hearts with La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. Ya Allah, we ask you to change our states from the state that it's into a better state, a more prophetic state, a more state that's closer to the Prophet of Allah والسلام, and closer to your pleasure, Ya Arhamar Rahim. Ya Allah, we ask you to make us of those people that understand what's been read today. And we ask you, Ya Arhamar Rahimin, to make us of those people that embody it and implement it in their lives outwardly and inwardly. And we ask you, Ya Arhamar Rahimin, and to make us of those people that live that way and embody that lifestyle, Ya Allah, and so that others can inshallah be encouraged by it, Ya Allah. We ask you to bless this class, Ya Arhamar Rahimin, and those who attend this class and those who intended to attend, and those, Ya Allah, that have come and have attended and gone, Ya Allah. We ask you also to bless the people that have enabled this class to come together and the people that have allowed us to use this facility, Ya Allah. We ask you to illuminate their hearts, Ya Arhamar Rahimin, and make their lives easy and alleviate their difficulties, Ya Akram al-Akrameen. We ask you, Ya Arhamar Rahimin, to have mercy and forgive and pardon the ummah of the Prophet of Allah والسلام, and allow them to return to your faith and your deen in the most honourable and blessed way. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله. We ask you also to bless our Mashaykh, to give them insight, Ya Allah, and to give them support and make the Prophet of Allah والسلام, happy with them. Ya Allah, we ask you to elevate their status in this life and the next and give them all the support that they need. خير ولطف وعافية ولا حضرة النبي بالسر الفاتحة.